Have you been looking for one of these RX 480 or 580 or 470 or 570 and you haven't found any in the marketplace, any at Amazon, any at Newegg, any at any other place that you ever thought that would actually have it, and you are wondering why? Well, stay tuned and I'll explain it to you. Forum! How you doing? How you be? Top to the AB. And yeah, this is a little bit outside of my norm, but I feel like this is still kind of in the realm of helping people understand why their graphics cards are out of stock, and we're gonna play it that way. I have here the RX 480 right here, and also the GTX 1070, which is the card 1070 right here, which is the card that I actually run. But I also want to get an RX 480. And actually, just by getting it, I actually learned a little bit about what's going on in the world. So I'm not the professional when it comes to Bitcoin and mining and everything like that. But what's going on is basically with Bitcoin, there's kind of been a upsurgence of Bitcoin itself. And for those of you who don't know what Bitcoin is basically a decentralized application specifically around transferring money from one location to another using blockchain. It sends information from one location to another, or a form of currency from one location to another, without the need of a government to intervene and take money out of it. And so it's from one place to another. It can take a little bit of time, but they're working on making that instantaneous. Absolutely nothing to do with the RX 480 and 580, but understanding what a Bitcoin is will help you understand what's going on. So Ethereum, which is an entirely a completely different blockchain than Bitcoin, is basically having a resurgence in the market share, because what Ethereum is doing is it's resistant to this ASIC that we were talking about before, this application-specific integrated circuit that's used to mine Bitcoin. It's somewhat resistant to this particular chain. However, gamers or graphics cards that gamers use isn't. So you can use graphics cards to mine Ethereum, and as a reward for letting basically the internet use your computer, you get Ether, or the currency for Ethereum. And with that, you can use that and convert it to something like Bitcoin and actually make money off of it. So you can actually make a profit over mining Ethereum with your graphics card. So that's the reason why your 480s and your 580s are gone. So here's the thing. So the RX 480, the reason why it's completely out of stock, even though it's an older card, the RX 480 actually runs at a lower TDP than the RX 580, and gives right around the exact same gigahash, which is basically how many hashes it can do per second. So the RX 480 and the RX 580 are relatively the same. But you would notice that the 1070s and the 1060s are still hanging around. Why is that? Well, 1070s originally weren't really the best cards for mining Ethereum. They're usually better suited for other types of mining. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I had some in my mind and I just completely lost it. But anyway, 1070s aren't really the best cards for mining Ethereum. There are other cryptocurrencies that are better for mining, but Ethereum is just not one of them. However, you can do certain things like increasing the base clock, increasing the memory, but plus or minus 800 megahertz in order to get it over 30 mega hashes, if that makes any sense. So you can actually use it as a card to mine Ethereum as well. It's just that at the particular price point, it just doesn't make any sense. You can get a cheaper $200 RX 480 or a $250 RX 580 if you can actually find one. So people have been taking the RX 480s and the RX 580s for themselves to mine because it's a profit. And on top of that, not only is it a profit, you can turn and then flip that to a gamer and make a profit off of them as well, because it's a relatively good card. I still have a 5770 from when that was my first card I bought when I was in college 10 years ago. And I can probably still sell it for like $5. So, you know, you can always make money off of graphics cards. So because of that, graphics cards in general for mining Ethereum is a very, very big deal. Now, here's what's going on though. Nvidia and AMD, they're in cahoots kind of thing and trying to figure out a way to handle this shortage as of what's going on. Even though Nvidia is barely playing game, you can always find a 1070. They're never really out of stock, which is kind of sad. And I have a 1070 and it makes me feel bad because I've always been Nvidia because, okay, anyway, so it has nothing to do with this. So So Nvidia and AMD are getting together to create graphics cards that are more specific to applications that specific to mining Bitcoin versus graphics that you would use for, graphics rendering that you would use for your video games and your Crysis and Far Cry and Tomb Raider or whatever. So basically, in order to do that, they're going to basically remove the display port and lower the price and basically make it so that it's not really specific for gaming at all. You can't even use the graphics card for gaming, but you can connect a monitor up to it, and it's straight up good for application-specific integrated circuitry or just mining anything for that matter. But I wouldn't use it for mining Bitcoin, because there's just no point in that anymore unless you have something that's dedicated for it. But anyway, it's used for mining Ether. Is kind of the way they're marketing it. And the problem with that is they're going to market it to be $100 cheaper, or $100 to $150 cheaper, as the documentation says. My issue with that is this. If you look at the return on investment for mining something like Ether or something like that, it's relatively good depending on how much you're actually spending into it and the way that Ether is climbing. However, there is some fallback there, right? Because if I was to buy an RX 480 like I did, and let's say that RX 480 is $200, well, I can let that guy mine all the way for the next 1 year or 2 years or a year and a half until something new comes out, and then turn around and flip it and make a profit for $150. Okay, so let's say I sell it for $150 in a year and a half. Okay, that's a pretty decent price. Or, well, it's $150 now, so, or $200 now. Let's say I sell it for like $100. Alrighty, so you got all the use of that, made profit off that graphics card, and then turned around and flipped it to somebody and still made a profit. Now, if they came out with a card that is now like $100 cheaper than the RX 580, which is usually around $250 to $300, so $150 to $200, and you bought that card, you can use it for as long as you want to, but you can't flip it to anyone. No gamer is going to want a card they can't game. So now you have a card that you have to use into its entire life cycle, and it may not prove to be a relatively good return on investment. And that's the thing about the new cards that Nvidia and AMD are getting ready to come out with, and that's kind of my opinion of it. But I wanted to make this video together because a whole lot of people really don't understand exactly what's going on, and there are a few videos that are talking about exactly what is going on with Ethereum and why are the cards gone, but it doesn't really talk about it from a gamer's perspective and what I really feel is what's happening and what I feel like it's going. It's all about return on investment. So if you can make a higher return on investment by getting the gamers cards and then flip it to gamers who don't know that the damn card has been running for a year and a half, then there is something to be said there. It may prove to be a better return on investment than just about anything else. But yeah, I wanted to let you guys know and just give you an idea of everything that's going on without being too wordy and too preachy and making this video too long. So that's going to do it for today's episode. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you really like it, go ahead and subscribe. I love you either way. And that's going to do it for today's episode. Top to the AB to the OUT. It's hot. I'm going to bed. Have a good one. Bye.